this month. Oh, now we're being live streamed. Great. Next up, we have our upcoming events and trainings. Evie, you want to talk about the most important one that's coming next week?
Yep, most important ones would be our Wednesday kickoff
this month.
Yes.
Oh, now we're being live streamed. Great.
I have like
I love when I hear myself echo. It's super.
It's a live stream delay a little bit. Sorry about that. I was like, where is that coming from? Too many controls right here on my side. Anyway, market stats in person with our dearest Ashley next week. But before that, we will kick that off with our multicultural potluck. So bring your favorite dish to share with everybody. We will kick that off at 12:30, and then Ashley, of course, kicks off at 1:30. So all in person at the Metro office. We'd love to see as many of you next week. That's it.
And for the potluck part, is there a sign up or anything like that?
Yes, ma'am. I will go ahead and blast that out today to get all the signups. And so, yeah, I'm excited for the different dish stuff.
Yes, me too. All right. Thank you for that, Evie. Let's hop over to Broker Bob for our coaching spotlight.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's having a great day. Let's give some shout outs for people doing great things in the coaching program. Congratulations to Christina. She opened her first escrow and launch. She's with Coach Team Alicia. And then Gaga closed her third escrow. She's graduating from the launch program. Congratulations, Gaga. I know what this last escrow was like for you. I'm glad you got it through. Congratulations. She's on Team Alicia. And then Kevin King, who's in growth with Coach Deborah, took a new listing in Hillcrest, and it's going to be active on Friday. So if you got a buyer in Hillcrest, reach out to Kevin today. And then Eric Robinson in growth with Coach Deb closed another escrow. I don't know what it was, but he closed it. Congratulations, Eric. Glad to see that you are listening to what your Coach Deborah is helping you do in your real estate practice. Great job, everybody. Here's a little broker input. Maybe you guys have seen it or not seen the email, the Facebook posts, the text messages. I will be in this month. So I will pretty much be unavailable to discuss stuff unless it's really, 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 really important. Be mindful of that. I will sign DocuSign stuff I need to sign, usually I'll pick 3 hours a day, 8, noon, and 5. So don't stress. I will get that stuff back to you. No broker highlights this week that you need to worry about other than just keep doing what you're doing so you stay out of court and you won't have to talk to me nonstop. All right, Sarah, back to you.
Enjoy your time off, Robert. We will be happy for you and not bombard you with anything that you will have to ignore while you're gone. All right, who do I have on for movement today?
I think you got me and me.
Hey, Matt.
So
it's all you.
All right. Movement Boost Program, up to 5% down payment assistance on FHA primary first, the California Dream for All that got bummed out that it's gone. Get them excited about this. Send them our way. Let us see how we can help them out. Also, very competitive pricing for our in-house jumbo preferred products and high balance products. So if you got anybody out there in escrow for jumbo or high balance, maybe saving a couple $100 is something they want to do. Send them our way. See if we can't save them a couple $100 a month. So yeah, that's all I got. Always here for you guys. Trying to get to as many open houses as I possibly can. And yeah, let us know. We're always around. Give us a shout.
We see you always around, Matt. Thank you for that. And your
mortgage is coming out. So 3.5%. So basically your down payment for FHA as down payment assistance, then 1.5% for your closing costs as a second loan. They're both paid back. So we got to make sure they qualify as debt to income, but Movement's here to give you 5% towards your down payments on FHA financing. So if you have borrowers out there that could use a little bump, but could afford the monthly payment, give us a shout. We'll get them in.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Reach out to Matt if you have any questions today, y'all. And Movement is always here to help us. So thank you for that. All right. Dan Becker, I know you mentioned a property pitch you wanted to share. If anybody else has a property pitch to share after Dan, you can just raise your hand and we will get to you in order.
Perfect. All right. I've got a little bit of a fixer-upper coming on the market. It's currently, I've got the listing. So it's coming soon. A little leeway on that. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in Lincoln Park. It's just off of the 805 before you get to National City. It is an act like the neighborhood. This home fixed up would be listing for probably 750 to 775. We're going to list it at 625, expecting to get multiple offers and hope to get somewhere between 650 and it's fully functional. It works well. It just needs a lot of love and updates. So if anybody has any questions or wants more photos, I have that available. You can reach out to me on my email address on the screen there, or you can text me at 619-573-7557 and talk to Matt about any renovation loan options that could work for your clients, because it's a really cool little property and there are not homes for sale in San Diego for 625.
That's awesome. Nice work. I didn't see any hands just listed or anything to share before we move on. You can always write it in the chat, but if you want, oh, look at your pineapple shirt too. That's fun. If you want to,
I got a couple coming soon. Yeah, it's Melinda. I got a couple coming soon. The listing agreements aren't signed, but there's there. I've got a good investment property working the LA market or investors up there. It's coming for, and there's a tenant in place that would love to stay. So, and then I've got one out in Lakeside that is going to be a 2-1 condo that lives like a single family, and it'll be listed for under 4. I think that'll go a little bit over 4, but you're going to be hard pressed to find something like that anywhere else. Detached garage. So get in my queue, you know, and that one needs a seller purchase or replacement property. So, you know, if you could get us a deal that has that in there, then you may very well be able to do it off market.
Nice. Well done. Franco, I see writing in the chat, a couple of off-market investment properties, a commercial and a mixed use. Call for more info and pictures. Anybody else, write it in the chat or shout it out here now. As they say, speak now or forever hold your P's and Q's, because we are ready to go. As we dive into the topic of today, I want to share the events coming up, because today's all about getting offers accepted and how to write them the best to get them done. And as we get back into this competitive multiple market, multiple offer world, we know it's most important to bring you guys the tips and tricks that are getting it done. And that was a conversation that Robert and I had yesterday following the ALC meeting, where we talked about what tools and strategies are we using to get deals done, to get creative, to get sellers time to, like Melinda just said, find the replacement property, to get buyers to win when there's 20, 30, 40 offers again. And as exciting as it will be for interest rates to come down, what is going to happen when interest rates go down at all? Are we going to have more buyers out there or less buyers out there? That's right, Matt. It'll be more. So listen up today, you guys. Take all the tips and tricks that we have, and make sure you're writing your offers in the best way possible. And for goodness sake, if you're writing an offer on something that's a little outside your realm or something you've done before, ask for help, phone a friend. The more business we can do together, the better for all of us. So I'll save the rest of my stuff for the end, because you guys all know I can get long-winded, and I'll let Robert, take it away with what you've seen and why you thought this was important today.
Well, here's something that scared the bejesus out of me this week. So I'm sending in all the numbers for our renewal for our E&O insurance. And so I had to pull what we did the last 12 months. So last year, our average sale price in our office was $805 for everything combined. $805,000. What do you think it is the last 12 months? Up or down?
Down.
Up. Ashley's got it right. It's 903. I'm like, are you kidding? 903 just for our little office? I know Ashley does great stats that shows the whole county, but 903 for our office just is, if you're old like me, you're like, what? Now it's just going to be very common because inventory is going to be low. If interest rates go down, there's going to be a lot more buyers. And so I get a lot of phone calls from agents. I'm like, I'm trying to get this offer accepted. I need help on this. What can I do? So I help coach and counsel people through that as well too. We're seeing it on especially the coaching team, the brand new agents. They're out there writing offers, and they're just not having luck all the time of getting it accepted. And so I reached out to a few of the people that I knew, and Sara did reach out to a few people in the LC, which I know them all. We all know each other, but I know the pro at this, and I'm glad he's here today, is John Fields. He knows, and we've talked about it. How do you get your offer accepted from an agent perspective to make sure? And he's really good at it. So John, I'd like you to share just some of the tips and tricks you have that you're very successful at when you get your offers accepted.
All right. So first of all, I don't have any magic pill. I don't have some, there is no magic pill. I'd say the most important thing for what not to do is go look at a house and your clients say they like it and email an offer and not CC the lender and not call or text the agent. That is one, 100%. The first thing that what works for me is always, if I have a client who's interested in a place, I'm in communication with the listing agent from the moment my client has expressed interest in the place. Whether it's depending on how much they'll communicate with you. Sometimes they'll talk to you and tell you everything, and sometimes they won't give you much. But whether it's through calls, usually texting, my goal is I want to make sure the listing agent knows who I am from the moment my client likes the place. Oh, okay, there's the offer from John. So that's, for me, that's the first step is and you got to figure out how to do it in a non-annoying way, because no one wants to be annoyed. So you got to find a medium between, bothering them and making it sound like, even if it is your only client, don't make it sound like it's the only person you're working with, the only thing you're focusing on. They want to work with somebody who's professional. And what I always try to think of is, be the agent, that agent. If you have a listing and you have 20 offers on it, think about what kind of agent do you want to work with, and then do that. So from there, it's mostly just communication. And the more you're communicating with them and trying to ask questions, the more likely it's going to be that they're going to give you a piece of information that's going to help you put together an offer that'll win. And even if you don't have an offer that wins off the bat, if you have a relationship going with that agent, what I find is I'll receive phone calls, not all the time. Obviously, I miss out on places all the time, but where the agent tells me, all right, I have X, Y, and Z offers that are better than yours in this way. Are you able to beat? Could your client get up to here? So just from being in a communication with them and them starting to trust me already and seeing that I'd probably be a good person to be talking to for the next month, if they're in a transaction with me, you can get a leg up. That really just goes back to communication. I mean, you have to be talking to the people. You can't be, like I said, firing off an offer without a phone call or a text. Having lenders, showing them that the lender is, part of your team and dialed in. You want to just make them feel secure with your offer, even if it's not the best. Sometimes I even acknowledge it. I'll say, look, I realize this might not be the highest offer, but here's what I can speak to about the offer. My client is I'll be totally transparent with you on where we are willing to go. And yeah, I think just be a normal person, talk to people, be likable. I don't know how
Communicate with them. Are you doing phone calls and texts, or what do you find that's more successful?
I'll call right away. And then it's mostly text, but it also depends on a lot of times on the age of the listing agent. Sometimes if they're older, I find that they want to do phone calls more, then I'll call them and I'll update them that way or ask them questions that way. Some say, don't call me, like text me, and that you can develop a relationship through text that way. Just making it, one thing I do is make the list also concerned about putting together a deal that's going to be, that's going to make the seller, look, let's figure out what is the seller needing? Tell me where they're going. Tell me a little bit about that. You get
For
that
those of you
information.
taking notes, can you repeat that again? You should, taking notes, you should come back and listen to this. Repeat that
I just
again.
said, I want them to know that I genuinely am interested in wanting to know this, but I want them to know that potential real estate. So there's a lot of emotions involved and it's big moves in people's lives. Okay, I understand the seller, needs X, Y, and Z. And I've relayed that to my buyer and they understand because they actually just went through that and they have a family member going through that. So we're going to put together the offer in this way so that it accommodates that. You don't know what you might find out by asking those kinds of questions. I learned recently that a seller that I was making an offer on for a client had stage 4 cancer. They had the place totally paid off. And what was important to them was just getting their money and moving and having it be completely stress-free. And that was information I got after, whether or not she was supposed to share that or not. That's information I got after, talking with the agent for a while. And so then we put together an offer with a good number and a quick close and just say, hey, seller, tell me within 60 days, how long would you, be able to be out of the house if we come to an agreement of a rent back of 1 to 59 days? And they said, oh my, I can choose that. I said, yeah, just counter back with it. My buyer said up to 2 months. Then we put together it was like a 45-day rent back. And they were just like kind of thrilled about the whole thing because somebody took an interest in their situation. So you don't need to just be fighting for your client. You should be, but it should be putting together, showing the other agent that you want to put together a deal that's going to work for everybody, because that's who people want to work with.
And then what are you doing to prepare your buyers before you even get out there? Because what I'm also finding is some of these agents I'm helping walk through, they're realizing, oh, my buyer's not motivated. How are you making sure you've got motivated buyers?
I feel like right now, buyers that aren't motivated, I'm seeing that buyers that aren't motivated, just at least with my clients, just aren't even expressing interest in seeing homes, at least right now, because I make sure before I take them out that they know what their payments would look like on most of these places. And if it's out of their range, then I think a lot of times they're so turned off right now because payments have gotten pretty high. So the buyers that have really gone through that process with the lender and they see what the payments would look like and they still want to see them, I think that's kind of how I'm sifting through and weeding through them right now, is making sure that, I know you said you want to look up to 750. Do you know what that looks like payment wise? Oh, no, I have no idea. Then they talk to the lender and lender tells them and they say, oh, I can do that. Great. Yeah, let's go really low. Or they have the opposite situation. They talk to the lender and they go, oh my God, I had no idea it was that much. I could never. So you got to really be dialed in with, get with Matt and be dialed in with the lender and make sure that your buyer is too, because that's what will save you time, is making sure that they're good to go on that front. As far as motivation to try to be competitive in this crazy market that we're having again is really, I just have the conversation with them. Just say, hey, before we go out and start looking at places, I want to make sure that you kind of are you familiar with kind of what's going on in the market? Oh yeah, well, I heard it's crashing. Okay, well, then it's a whole different conversation. But there's like, I hear we're looking at multiple offers again. Yes. So it's super competitive. And if you want to be, if you're willing to step in with both feet and be competitive along with these other offers, then I think we should get out there and we'll definitely find you a place. Now, if you're testing the waters and not quite sure if you want to buy or sell yet, this may not be the right time for you, because what we're seeing again is $50,000 over asking, $75,000 over asking in some cases. Is that something that you're interested in competing with? Well, if it means getting a house, then yes, or they go the other direction. So I just tell them what's going on. Just tell them what I'm seeing, and then asking them if they want to move forward.
Sounds like you got a pretty good gig there, John. Also, I guess congratulations are in order. I hear you're going to be a dad pretty soon.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Thank you.
John came to us when he was a little boy, almost.
I know. like 11 years I've been with the office. I was 22.
Well, I appreciate, that's great input. I really appreciate you showing up today. And John, of course, has great information. He's always available for feedback if you need some or help or support. He's just one of those guys. So appreciate it, John. Next up, who do we have? Emily Holmes.
Bridget has her hand up. Maybe she has a
Oh, Bridget.
question.
Bridget, okay.
Bridget?
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Emily, but John made such a good point. First of all, John, I am so proud of how much you have grown. You really are a great agent, and thank you for those tips.
Thank you.
He brought up a really good point about like communicating with the agent, and I just something to kind of flip your mind for a second and think about it from the listing agent's perspective when you are submitting an offer. So for example, for me, I don't take the calls on my listings. Victor is my listing coordinator. He does all of that. When you contact an agent and their admin answers, you need to treat them like they are the agent. They are, in my opinion, more important than the listing agent, because here's what happens. Victor talks to somebody, they're a pain in the butt to him, and he texts me, pain in the butt, here's their info, have to talk to you. I get on the phone with them, and guess what? Guess where their priority is going to go? To the bottom. So keep in mind, I look at our admin as the same way I look at gatekeepers when I'm working with divorce attorneys. The gatekeepers in their offices are almost more important to build a relationship with than the attorney themselves. And it's the same for our agents. So if you can't get to the listing agent, do not fret. That's not necessarily a bad thing. You are killing them with kindness to the admin, because they really are the ones that run the show.
That's for darn sure, especially Victor. He runs the show for you. Thanks, Bridget. All right. Emily, the one I love teasing the most. She lets me do it too.
Yeah, I do. I really do. That was perfect, John. You kind of covered pretty much everything. I kind of took it from a perspective of what to do on the offer, on the actual offer to strengthen it. So the communication piece, like John said up front, is the most important. And as Bridget was talking, I just thought of, when you call the listing agent, make sure you're not like running between showings with your client totally scattered. I like to be alone. I like to be, or, not near my client and in like a quiet, calm space when I'm calling them, so I can get the details that I need. I do have a little Word doc, but I can just upload it to the Facebook page after this. So mine was the same as John's. You always want to call the listing agent, so you can start building that rapport. I introduce myself. I tell a little bit about my buyer, let them know so that, even if it is your first offer, let them know you plan on shortening your contingencies, so it looks like you know what you're doing. Ask them a little bit about the sellers, like John said, and then kind of just start to think creatively. Like we were saying, trying to make it a win-win for both buyers and sellers. So if they say, yesterday, for example, when I called a listing agent about writing an offer, she said that their his biggest need was to get the money in hand right away, but he didn't want to move out until the first week of July. And I said, okay, would it be more helpful if we closed in as short as 10 days? Because this lender happens to be able to do that with a loan. And then we did a free rent back. And she was like, it was as if this like dawned on her. And she's like, oh, that would be the most competitive, right? And we were going to be the fourth offer in. She's with Compass, so she does business, but that was still something that like she hadn't even come up with. So that automatically kind of gave us a leg up to suggest something like that to her. When it works for your clients. I mean, they might not all be open to giving free rent backs, but in this market, like John said, it's happening quite a bit. So just getting to kind of the root of what the seller needs, asking, who they use for title and escrow, if it's not in the MLS, how many offers they have in. There's a lot of cash offers I'm going up against these days. So trying to make, if your buyer's open to it, to being this aggressive, I'm starting to write kind of the most aggressive offers of my career again now. So trying to make my offers as competitive with cash as possible. So the 10-day close helps. This guy's a very vanilla file, as they say in lender land. So can you remove their loan contingency and their appraisal contingency up front? He happens to be selling. We're closing today on his La Mesa property. So he has that cash in the bank to cover a gap. So just being prepared for it to not appraise, like John said, if it's going 50K over asking, if asking was market value, it's potentially going tens of thousands of dollars over the actual appraised amount, right? So just having the money in the bank for that as well, and having those conversations with your buyers up front. And I can put, like I said, I'll put this list online. Everybody's pretty much covered everything. I would just say, yeah, I can give you an example of how to not be the annoying agent. So on my last listing, we had 9 offers in, we countered 5, and she knew we were I actually learned to tell her we were doing things 2 and 3 hours later than we were actually doing them, because I knew her annoying texts were going to start 20 minutes after I told her that time frame. And no part of me, I was I always tell my clients, listen, I can work with anybody. This is your decision, but let me just explain, I give them just a little taste of why one agent may be stronger than the next. So if they tell you they're reviewing offers at 4, don't start 3. Right? That's pretty easy one, but it happens. Like John said, I do the call up front as soon as I know my person's interested, my client's interested, but most of the rest, depending on the age, is usually through text. I'll also call when I send the offer over, or at least text, because I've had many, many offers lately go to spam. I don't know why, just completely missed out not knowing that they didn't get it. And then I always have my lender call the listing agent as soon as the offer goes out. If it's super late at night, then they'll call the next morning. But again, you guys have heard me preach this quite often. My last two listings in the last month, 16 offers, and not one lender called again. So it just blows my mind. It's such an easy thing to have your lender do. It takes less than 5 minutes for them to just show, hey, I'm a person. I'm not night hours and weekends. And then they can tell, if you are making such an aggressive offer, they can say, yes, I'm comfortable with the appraisal contingency being removed. Yes, I'm comfortable with the loan contingency being removed. And yes, I can meet that 10-day deadline. The agent didn't just throw that together without talking to me.
I had the lender actually call me as well, send a video message on my text.
I like that.
Yeah, worked. It worked.
Love it. One question I ask, in addition to what John asks, is there anything on the current offers that the sellers don't want, or anything not on there that they do want that could make our offer more competitive? And usually that helps them think. And then I always try to get where the offers are at. And so I kind of soften that question with, I realize everyone runs their business differently, so feel free to tell me if this isn't how you run yours. And then, are you able to share the highest current offer price so that we can meet it or beat it? I'm feeling like EMDs coming back to 3% is becoming necessary again. I kind of have been rolling that way for years, so it hasn't been too different for my buyers, but I know it shouldn't matter that much, but sellers seem to care. I'm doing inspection contingencies on a clean condo. I'll do it in 5 days. And I'll pre-book a home inspection appointment with one of my inspectors that knows that I'm literally booking a placeholder. They're totally fine with it, so I can meet that deadline. On a condo, I'd say max 7 days. Single family homes between 7 to 10, just to be competitive, because there are a lot of people shortening that very short, whether they intend to meet it or not. And then if it's a super clean condo and we're doing an as-is sale, I'll reiterate that with language I got from Mark and BB on the RPA. And then I'll send a request for repairs in as well with the RPA, stating that we won't be asking for anything. Kind of have to feel your buyer out as to whether or not appraisal contingency or appraisal gap coverage is better, and maybe feel the listing agent out. Sometimes I feel like appraisal gap coverage is stronger, unless we know it's going to potentially appraise way lower, but never both at the same time, because that just created a massive issue on my listing last time.
Any words of wisdom, Emily, on appraisal gap coverage?
Are you trying to make fun of me?
No, just words of wisdom. What should they do?
So I would love to actually open this up to some of the ALC and the top producers in the office and get what you guys do. Lately, so this one client I've been trying to get into a spot in North Park. We've written 3 offers. One we kind of we knew wouldn't get accepted because he wasn't willing to come up high enough. The other 2 totally blindsided that we didn't get anywhere near it. We got countered on one and then they chose a different one. But I'm talking, we were $65,000 over the max I thought it would appraise. He was willing to pay that amount. We're talking about a 1-1 condo in North Park. We were a 10-day close, no inspection conditions, or sorry, no appraisal, no loan, 5-day as is.
Was that Texas Street this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, it went over 550.
Oh, we were at 575. So
It's ridiculous.
It must have gone over that or around that with a cash buyer because I know he had a bunch. So I would love to hear in that scenario, because my guy was making, $200 grand today from his sale and had about that in the bank. He knew, I was like, listen, there's a model match comp below this thing. It's literally the model match below it. What had just sold for 497 last week. So I guided him on that one. We had done appraisal gap on a different one before that, but I guided him on that one to remove his appraisal contingency completely. And I don't know, what would everybody else have done in that scenario? Knowing, I was like, this will not appraise anywhere near what you're paying. And he was like, totally, he's going through a divorce, totally fine with it, just wanted to snag it. I go back and forth on what's stronger. If I know it's going to be like 5K, 10K, 20K, I might do an appraisal gap because there's people out there removing their appraisal contingency, leaving their loan contingency in, and they have no intention of paying that gap, right? So for me, when I'm on the listing side, the most recent one that my buyers chose out of 9 offers had a $30,000 appraisal gap. And we felt that was the stronger move versus this other person who didn't have as good of an offer that had removed their appraisal contingency. But what do you guys think?
Well,
I never used to use it.
Let me just speak as broker for broker recommendations first. If you're putting appraisal gaps, make sure coverage in there. Make sure you know what you're writing. You can't write legal language in a contract because if you write it the wrong way, you end up possibly having to fork over some of your commission. Fortunately, CAR has the updated buyer counteroffer, seller counteroffer, and seller multiple counteroffer. They're updating the counteroffers with better appraisal gap coverage language because it's agents are so confused with that out in the field and they're making mistakes left and right. So that'll be released at the end of June, like the 23rd or 4th, I believe. So when you see the counteroffers change this month, just know, oh, okay, changed. But yeah, others about appraisal gaps. Anybody?
Emily, I prefer appraisal waiver 10 times down. But if I'm going to take an appraisal waiver, I'm calling the lender beforehand and I'm asking if they have the money. And if they don't, and I want to see the money as well. So I ask for proof of funds to cover that. And if I don't get that, that's not the offer I'm going to recommend. And I'll also have a conversation with the listing agent of, no, you're not canceling on the loan because I will go to the lender to find out if they still qualified for the loan.
Yep.
So at least let them know that I'm on to some of the tactics that are used by less scrupulous agents for their clients. So they'll say, oh, just get out on the loan. Well, you're going to have to prove that you couldn't get your loan.
Yep. Yeah. And I do that. I'm just from the buyer side. I guess I think that was my first time using appraisal gap on the previous offer in a very long time. And it was coming off of his own home. We ended up taking the one that had the appraisal gap and that worked out fine. And it actually appraised, which we didn't think it would. But yeah, I do err on the side normally of the appraisal contingency fully removed. And like Melinda said, showing that money, that they can cover it. And
yeah, you guys, make sure they have the money. Make sure your clients that they actually have it. And then when you're the listing agent, make sure you do the math. I mean, on all of the deals. So many times I'm like, the money's not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many agents don't understand that. Emily, you want anything last parting words of wisdom?
Just wrapping it up. I mean, little things like the home warranty waiving or being paid by buyers, that's coming back. I mean, if I get an offer without a pre-approval letter and proof of funds, I literally laugh. So just making sure when I'm on the listing side, making sure you're putting that with your RPA. I don't know. The rest of this is just little stuff I'll upload. But and then escalation clauses are back in full force now, guys. I stopped asking whether or not the listing agent likes them if I feel the need to use it. But it can get so crazy on the seller side, like too much.
All right. Thanks, Ems. Appreciate it. You're going to upload that to Facebook, right? Is that where you put it? Your little
Yeah.
checklist. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we have a share with Melinda. Melinda, I think you're in.
Okay. Yeah, my amazing colleagues have covered most. But there's a couple things I want to go to. Your offer acceptance actually starts at your showing booking. Okay, so pay attention to the MLS instructions and follow the agent's instructions, because if you don't, they're paying attention, or their assistants are paying attention. They know whether you made an appointment. They know if you showed it without one. They know if you were a half hour late. They know if all of that stuff. Same thing with submitting the offer, especially with these larger teams and companies. They have their own systems. Before you call them and ask them stupid questions, check the documents in the MLS. And I'm guilty too of being on the run and I don't notice it. And if you make the mistake, apologize profusely and eat crow, so they know that you're not a cocky, sloppy agent, because nobody wants to work with that. And you know what? You get a reputation. I've had a lot recently. I've had way more buyers than I have sellers. And it makes me nervous when they're like, oh yeah, we know who you are. When I say, oh yeah, my deal's closed, there's no, because my cover letter says my deal's closed, there's no drama, I have a professional team, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, your reputation after a while precedes you. And then I'll try to find out what it is that they think they know about me. And it's usually, somebody at KW at some point in time, or I taught a class or whatever. So read the instructions. Okay, I'm going to go to tactical on the contract. I think Emily already said it. I'm sitting here realizing why I didn't stand a chance. Well, I knew I didn't stand a chance on that Texas condo, but she's writing her offers even tighter than I am. But please, I can't tell you how many offers we've seen that they don't even shorten the contingencies at all. Their clients are so disserved on that because they're not telling them. We usually write a 7-day. I used to do 10-day inspections. I'm doing 7-day inspections, pre-booking, 10-day appraisal, 12-day loan, 17-day close. If the lender can do shorter, I always call the lender because I'm going to keep my word. I have a reputation that we stick to our dates. And I tell my clients that I'm not going to write it just to get their offer. We're writing an offer we can perform on, because I tell the listing agent we can perform on it. So I'll call the lender if it's not one of mine. And even if it's one of mine, I'll check in with them. Can I do, it's usually a text, can I do X, Y, and Z? What's the fastest you can do? I need it on this. And sometimes they can do even better. But I presented that we're a team, all of us. We've got to all be in alignment. I look for win-wins. As a listing agent, I'll be honest, I'm checking your offer at the stoplight on Rosecrans when I find out you've given me an offer. So do not make me open the damn PDF, okay? Put it in your text or put it in your cover letter, how much it is, how many days, what the important stuff, and don't hide the important stuff and make me, I'm going to go over it with a fine tooth comb. I'm still going to print all those offers, go through them with highlighters, but don't not tell me that you had a contingent it's contingent on your sale, or you want you want a 2-1 buy down, but you didn't tell me about it when you put the summary. But don't make me open that damn PDF, okay? Because I am checking it on the go, deciding if it's going to go to the top or the bottom of my pile, and if I need to call my seller right then. Also, I think to just knowing what's important and coming to a win-win. Okay, everything that my colleagues have said is great if the listing agent answers your call. But let's be honest out there. There's a lot of listing agents not calling us back, especially when they have 15 or 20 offers. It's not because they're awful. It's because they just can't keep up, or because they have a big team, whatever it is. So pay attention on the showings to what you see in the house. Is it a military house? Active duty? They're probably PCSing. They have a deadline. The deadline's really important to them, sometimes more than the money, because they have a pack out date and they want to be sure that house is sold because they want to move into their new house when they get there. Is it a divorce? If you see a family house and there's only the lady's clothes hanging in the closet or the man's clothes, you know what the motivation is right there, even if somebody's not telling you. If it's clear that it's older people's home, and you have 20 years worth of stuff, guess what? Closing in 17 days is going to make them have a nervous breakdown. It's not a good thing. They're going to want to rent back. They don't even want to be rushed with their contingencies because it's not good. So if you can't get the listing agent, kind of pay attention to the cues in the house. I also know I don't write buyer letters anymore, but I do make sure the listing agent knows my buyer's story, either verbally or in my cover letter, so that they can't help but tell it when the seller asks them. So if there's a story to tell, I make sure that I humanize my buyers. And then I want to give a caution right here. Broker Bob, I hope I'm not coming to you. We're getting really aggressive with offers again. We got to be really careful to protect our clients. If you are writing an offer on a condo and there's financing of any kind, and you are in a high fire area, like Scripps Ranch, Rancho Bernardo, and other areas, do not remove the loan contingency. I'm going to tell you why. I had one in escrow, and a conventional loan, lender checked it on May 31st, Fannie Mae approved. We going to close it this next week. They do their final check, and Fannie Mae pulled the approval, and it's got to do with fire insurance. Because on May 31st, the policy thing, the HOA can't get the insurance. We're dead. We're done. We can't do it. So pay close attention to, and by the way, we found this out three hours after we released our full loan for all of our contingencies.
That's good advice for any place in San Diego, because now with that all states not writing policies in the state of California.
Nor is State Farm. They just backed out too. Yeah.
And Northern California is having a horrific time in Northern California. I just spoke with the broker up there that's having a challenge up there. So
we're also go ahead, sorry. Yeah, that fire hardening is really a big issue. And then I don't remember the name of the bill. Maybe you do, Bob, because I had that condo in Cardiff. The condos that fell down in Florida resulted in a new law in California that started January of 2022 that requires an inspection of all these condos, especially the decks and this stability. And there's huge assessments coming up the road. And if these reports already exist, the lenders want these reports, and the lawyers are telling them no. And so there's a whole bunch, and it's showing up in the meeting minutes.
Yeah, and some condo associations don't even know about it.
Right. And I think it has to be done by something in 2024.
Yeah.
So this is starting to be a really big deal. Pay attention on those condos. They're getting harder and harder and harder to be warrantable. And a non-warrantable interest rate right now is 9.72.
BB, in Melinda's situation, is that considered a supervening event? Or no?
The no insurance?
No, the insurance being good and then not being
no, it would be hard. It would end up in mediation court, whatever, buyers and sellers suing each other.
So let me back up on it. You know what? The most important thing, Emily, you already know this. Everybody in the room knows this. The most important thing is that I have a sane agent, a sane seller, sane buyer, and sane lender, and we all communicate really well. And there's mutual respect. That seller, I have a verbal that they're getting their earnest money back. I don't have it that I know of yet signed in writing. I do, though. You do need to know your contracts, because I already know a couple, I think, legal way outs. Hopefully, Robert and I aren't talking in Costa Rica next week. But one has to do with when the listing agent submitted their avid, because I get 5 days from that. We're going to go count days if I need to. Yeah. And it has to do with the seller purchase of the replacement property. They made me put it in that it was contingent upon closing of their purchase property. Well, they can't close on their purchase property until we close on ours. So I can force on closing day or 2 days before closing, seller notice to perform, and they can't perform on their part of their purchase, removing that contingency. So I'm hoping if I have to, but know your contracts, especially that seller purchase or replacement property. It's a tricky contract.
Those are always fun, always fun. Any last words of wisdom, Melinda?
Stock up on vodka.
That's a really good advice. So I do want to tell everybody your rule that your team has to do. If you don't have 2 escrows, what are you doing?
Yeah, everybody knows that rule, huh, Robert? if we don't have 2 rolling escrows at all times, we have to do a minimum of 2 open houses every weekend. I'm actually running 3 right now, and I do have 2 open escrows. Well, I won't in a few minutes, because I know there are some weekends that I can't do 2, and they're really hard to find right now. Open houses are hard to find, but we're doing them anyway.
Yep. Okay, that's great advice. Thanks, Melinda. Here's what I'm seeing as broker that I get a lot of calls lately as we get into a heightened market like this with agents, less deals to go around. I'm seeing agents not in our office, but outside of our office, violating a lot of NAR code of ethics. Case, you've been working with, and all of a sudden you find out that another agent shows up that tries to intervene on the deal because they were working with that agent prior, and that agent's doing just horrific things to try and create havoc during the escrow, and interfering with agency relationships. I'm seeing a lot of stuff like that where agents are doing stuff that literally could be considered, it is a violation of NAR code of ethics. So if that does happen, reach out to obviously me, and I'll walk you through what you need to do, memorialize everything, get everything in writing. If you got an agent that's threatening you, I mean, we're literally getting agents threatening other agents out there right now. Just document, because then you can file with the Department of Real Estate as well as the local board. Anybody have any other stuff? We have some few minutes left. Sarah, did we have anybody else lined up?
No, Mike was stuck in his appointment, so he couldn't get out to hop on Zoom. But Em, do you want to say out loud what you wrote in the chat?
Oh, sure. Oh, wait, I'm not on mute. Sorry. Yeah, I just to clarify, like, obviously for part of the reason with any offer that you can't close super quickly on a condo or a townhome is notoriously the HOA docs take a long time. So the way we were giving away, his firstborn on this offer. So the only thing I was asking the sellers to do was order the HOA docs. There's a section of the RPA where you can check off that it would be within 1 day after offer acceptance, and just having them pay the rush fee because you can get them back pretty quickly. Yes, Melinda. Oh gosh, I laugh a lot. A bicycle, John. I got an offer accepted by Vinnie. I didn't have to give.
I haven't had to give gifts since spring of 2022. I guess I'm going to have to up it again because now I'm chock full of more buyers. I've done cheesecakes, babysitting, cookies, you name it.
All right. So, and Dan Becker, you're here. I'm going to ask you a question. You're working 2 markets.
Yeah.
Any difference between the 2 markets?
Yeah, very much different. A secondary home market in Palm Springs is a very different motivation for people to sell. So it becomes, you have to understand. I think in both markets, the bottom line is you need to try to get and understand the motivation of the seller so that your business they want to make. All of this information everybody's saying is really great. It's about being informed, being educated, and adapting. We're in a relationship business. And that doesn't just mean with our clients, it means with other agents as well. And so like what John was saying, he tries to reach out and communicate, but you also have to write a solid offer. If you're just writing a low ball offer, nobody's going to accept it if they got other offers to go with. So I always like to think of myself as I want to have a relationship with that other agent so that if my buyer brings an offer to the table that's really solid and there are 2 offers that are close to one another, the seller always says, well, I don't know which one to pick. What do you think? And the agent is going to say, well, this Dan guy has been really good to communicate with. He'd be great to work with. I would go in that direction. Right. Mm-hmm. So when you're working 2 different markets, it's still about communication. It's still about developing relationship, and it's about being a professional agent. And I think we have the tools in this office. We're way ahead most of the other crappy agents that are out there.
Miles ahead. Thanks, Dan. Melinda made a point I want to point out in the chat. Fill out your RPA completely and correctly in all caps. Thank you. I mean, that's the first thing. If I offer that's not filled out properly, I'm like, do I want to do business with this agent? They can't even get the RPA filled out right. So make sure you review it, double review it, triple review it. Even I have forgotten a few times in my days. It does happen, but go a lot slower, but make sure. And if you're in the coaching program, obviously you have the coach to help guide you through that. That's important and key in this market as well too. Anybody have any last minute things? Because we had some extra time. If not,
Vinnie put his hand up. Vinnie put his hand up.
Vinnie, okay, Vinnie.
I was gonna say one thing. Something to just really think about is that because we're getting such high offers on our listings for the most part in this market, what all these great agents are talking about, because the difference between 5,000 taking $5,000 less, they're not going to make the world of difference to the client. And so, like, if the agent knows that they're working with an agent that's going to make their life easier, they're probably going to guide their client and take an offer that maybe even a little less, because their clients are still going to be happy. So.
Thanks, Vinnie. And Judy made a great point. We did talk about it, but I want to reiterate again. It's important to coach your buyers. You have to be dealing with motivated buyers in this market. Get to what their motivation is. And one of the scripts I learned early on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you really need to go buy a house, and 1 being you don't care if the house burns down, where do you fit? You know, kind of make it funny. And if they say anything less than 10, if they said 7, 8, 9, you got to figure a 10, because you got to get that out of the way before you can even move forward to get them out there to be motivated, because they won't be motivated once they're out there. What's holding them back from being a 10? And take care of that, address it before you put them in the car.
And remember that we don't use scripts, we use language of real estate conversations.
Language of real estate. Old dog, new tricks. Got to teach me. All right, everybody, really hope you got some out of today's meeting.
Whoa, time out.
Okay. I was going
They definitely got something out of today's meeting. And Melinda's last point about look at what's out there, the ones that are sitting, convince them why those are the good ones that they can make beautiful on their own and not compete with 400 offers if they don't have the cash to throw at the people. And last but not least, you guys, this market is amazing. We're going to keep doing more. The National Association of Realtors lost 65,000 agents in the month of May. I'm telling you that because it's good news for you, because if you're working, you're doing it, and you're in the right place to have the right training to do the right thing. So congratulations. And we have Bold coming in August. And I don't care if you've taken it once, twice, 100 times, or never. This is the time you absolutely should be taking it. It starts the week of August 7th. That's week 1. We don't have a million holidays running through this one. So it's going to start in August, end in September. I'm telling you now because a few of you have taken advantage of prepay it, have it taken out of your next commission check that's coming right now. If you want to do that so the money is out of your pocket, never sees your wallet, great plan. Invest in yourself and tell Nancy, Ariana, write a note and an email to the team. Hey, I want to prepay for Bold. How do I do that? They'll pull the funds from your next closing, 1 or 2, and get it taken care of. And you'll be signed up ahead of time. So I just want to make sure I keep reminding you, because suddenly it's 8 weeks away and I don't know how that happened. Lisa Miller, you'll hear more about it coming up. What is Bold? Yeah. Go ahead, Em.
I was just going to have you answer Lisa's question, or do we know the instructor? Yeah.
We don't know the instructor yet. We're getting the best one. So Ashley and I are working with the coordinator of Bold at KWRI to get us the very best one. So we're patiently waiting to make sure it's the right person. And Bold is Business Objective Life by Design. It is a 7-week course that will make your brain smarter, your wallet bigger, and ultimately, honestly, change your life in ways that you can't explain until you go through it. But it will teach you the foundations of the business in a way like no other. Ashley, you came off mute. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, does anybody have a request for instructors for Bold? Okay, if you do, text me or email me.
Sarah knows stuff.
We talked about it in ILC. Yeah, I'll share. I'll keep posting on the Facebook page. If you have more questions about a specific interaction or what it would mean to you, or tell me more about it, I will. Ultimately, it's one of those experiences that maybe next week at the in-person, we'll ask somebody else to share besides me, that you can know until you've been through it. And so I want other agents to give their perspective on what they've taken out. What it will do is make you do more business in those 7 weeks than you've probably ever done before, or likely will ever do again, in case you keep working unless you keep working at the same level.
The last minute update, just a reminder, the forms are updated, all the counter offers, the listing agreement, some items in the purchase agreement. So be aware it kicks in, I think 6/23. So you need to update your forms. So don't be surprised when they're there, and we're here to help you if you don't understand what they are. And Carr did put a webinar that I attended yesterday, went through the whole thing on what to expect. If you want to see it, go to carr.org.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, participants. Have a good week. See you next week in person.